eat like you feel like I have rheumatoid arthritis, and I was told at a very young age that I was going to be having repercussions of that my entire life. There just has to be something else. And we ended up finding a berry, and it ended up being my saving grace. Went off all meds, and in 3 months, they had told me my inflammation, my back was gone.
I'd never actually heard someone talk about healing people through food with such passion.
What you eat creates the hair you grow, your skin. Mm-hmm. It changes the way your body functions.
Make carrots sexy again.
Yeah. How do I biohack this? I'm like, it's an apple. Like, the best that people are doing is still making them very sick.
It's just this reminder that food ultimately is meant to be nourishing.
You shouldn't have to have a PhD in nutrition to know how to take care of yourself.
Brooke Graves, welcome to Powerhouse Women.
Thank you for having me.
I'm so excited to have you because I always joke that if my bookkeeper ever wonders where I spend the most money, she's like the one who knows all my secrets. The amount of times a week I go to Kaleidoscope is actually embarrassing. I split it between 2 locations because I don't want to look obsessive.
Well, we love you. We appreciate you. Thank you so much. She doesn't need to know.
She doesn't need to know. Well, she's the only one who does.
Okay.
She's the one who knows my secrets because she sees the receipts.
Okay.
I guess I should have said my husband really doesn't need to know how
much.
He
doesn't need to know.
Yeah, exactly.
He doesn't need to know. As long as she's good at keeping it silent, then we love her. We love her. We love you. Thank you.
I love supporting women-owned businesses. That's going to be my rebuttal when I get asked about my Kaleidoscope expenditures every week.
Small business
keep
this economy going.
So for those that don't live in Arizona, Kaleidoscope is a local juice company, and I'm sitting here with the co-founder and CEO, and we're going to dive into all the things today, but I'm so excited to get to share a little bit more of your business story, but also you are one of the smartest women I know.
Ooh.
I mean, no pressure whatsoever. So
thank you.
You are going to school right now. You're getting a doctorate in
clinical nutrition.
Okay. And then what were your other degrees before this?
I have my master's in human nutrition and functional medicine, and then my undergraduate degrees in nutrition dietetics. I went to med school, but I dropped out.
Yeah.
So I usually don't lead with that as a med school dropout, but I did that for a year or 2.
Well, but I love your story because what's so cool is to kind of connect the dots and look at what led you to business ownership. And it really started with your passion for nutrition. But where did that all start? Because it really goes so much further back than I bet most people know.
Yes. Nutrition has always been a lifelong journey and passion of mine, and at the forefront of, I feel like, my entire existence. As most people who find themselves in the nutrition world, they were usually burned by westernized medicine. And when I say burned, it's not necessarily the fact that westernized medicine doesn't work. It has a time and a place. I always tell people, if I get my arm chopped off, take my ass to the hospital.
Right.
Take me right away. But there are other modalities that we have stripped away from the westernized medicine world that are beautiful modalities that help people in preventative medicine. And those specific ones help with autoimmune conditions that seem to be untreatable. And that's what I was called at one point, that I would be living with, I have rheumatoid arthritis, and I was told at a very young age that I was going to be having rheumatoid arthritis and the repercussions of that my entire life. And my parents needed to get used to the idea of me being potentially disabled. So obviously being told that, my parents said, no, we're not going to take this as a life sentence for her. There just has to be something else. So at 3, I was going to acupuncturists, chiropractors. I was trying every single anti-inflammatory diet. Now they're, AIP diets or keto, or there's all these fancy words for diets now. But at the time, my mom was going to the library and sitting and reading through all these books because we didn't have computer and finding out different ways to help me lower inflammation. So to me, my upbringing was everybody is this hyper obsessed with food. And it wasn't until I got into grade school that when I ate my first real hot dog, that I realized that I was a little odd and my eating habits were a little odd. But long story short is I was able to use nutrition, really. Nutrition was a huge impact on my autoimmune condition and helping contain my inflammation so that I wasn't on really heavy steroid drugs my entire upbringing. I did have in and out of remission through different periods of my life in elementary school, middle school, and then again in high school. I had a really big flare up that ended up spreading the rheumatoid arthritis to my sacroiliac joints, and it's called spondyloarthropathy, and it's inflammation of your lower back, where I always like the kind of little indentations.
Yeah.
So I had that, and I was a little bit older, and I had more control over my diet at the time. And we ended up finding a berry, the aronia berry, and in a back alley, like this hole in the wall place. And
I thought you meant just like growing out of the
I wish it would have been cheaper. But no, we bought this expensive berry, and it ended up being my saving grace. And in 3 months, I had gone back in for my scans, and I had lowered they had told me my inflammation in my back was gone. And I went off all meds. And at the time, my mom was so scared. She was like, don't tell them that I've really taken you off your meds. Like, she was so nervous.
Don't so unconventional.
Don't bring up I'm giving you berry juice to try to, take care of you. But at 16, I was giving myself injections in my leg of Enbrel, which is a steroid. I was taking Relafin. So my hair was falling out. You're a 16-year-old girl.
Yeah.
Your hair is falling out. You're bruising on your legs. I looked like a hot mess. And my mom just, as any parent would, just wanted her daughter to feel well. Mm-hmm. So after that whole journey, me seeing very quickly how much food can impact the way you feel, I went into college and I just knew that this was going to be what I did. And I didn't know how. And I thought, medicine, I thought I'd maybe go to medical school. My rheumatologist wrote my letter of rec for me to get into medical school. He's an awesome man, Dr. Vay. And I didn't know that obviously Kaleidoscope and what it is now, there wasn't anything out there at the time that said I could reach people through food and food service instead of sitting with them in a clinician's office. And now that I'm in this job and I do this, I joke around with my friends who are in private practice or working as registered dietitians for sports teams. They're helping between 20 to 30 people max a day. We have over 500 people who walk through our stores a day. And so I live in like my purpose, knowing that I've taken all of these really hard setbacks, quote unquote, as a child and used it to propel an entire line of, I call it culinary medicine with Kaleidoscope, and can give everybody else, parents who don't know, children who are suffering, people who are suffering, an option to have healthy food at their disposal without all the other shit in it. Pardon my French, but that you can get in normal, fast casual.
And I remember meeting you for the first time. We spoke on a panel at something locally and hearing your vision. I'd never actually heard someone talk about healing people through food with such passion. And especially, I grew up in the Midwest too. I know you were living in Minnesota at the time. Now living in a place where there are more healthy options, you realize how far as a society we have to go, especially in places like the Midwest where it's not as readily available. So it's almost like you get to become this advocate for people the same way your mom was for you.
Yes. And I have mentioned that to people before. I was so blessed to have parents who thought outside the box and who really fought for me. And not everybody has that as a guardian, and you don't know what you don't know. So if I can be either a voice for them or a helping hand or something that just makes it easier for a parent to say, oh, I can try this, or it is available. Because nobody likes feeling embarrassed or out of place for the way that they eat. And healthy eating often gets a bad rap where you seem difficult or you seem particular and people don't want to invite you out to eat, or that person never can just order off the menu. They always make it a big deal and it's hard to go out to eat with them. Nobody wants to feel that way and feel secluded and isolated. And food is supposed to be the one universal language that we have, where it brings cultures together, it brings people together. There's a reason that families, sit down for a dinner. It's truly a community-based activity. And unfortunately, with how horrible our food supply has turned into in America, it's stripped the ability to have that community-based gathering because so many people are so fucking sick.
Yeah.
And that makes me sad because you don't want to see people give up the ability to connect with others just because they're not able to eat the same way. And it's a health related issue.
Right.
And they're embarrassed about it.
Right. One of my favorite reasons of following you is I feel like I really do get to stay up to speed on things that aren't being reported in the news, things that are going on with our food, our water supply, and you're always backing it up with actual research articles that you're sharing. I also have the privilege of being on your close friends list where I get to like read I get all the tea. But blanket statement, how do you describe like where is the state of our food today?
It's funny you say that. I went to our produce buyer today and we were in a massive warehouse, and they're sourcing for us and they're helping, deliver. It's coming from multiple places. They're trying to organize it. And our produce buyer is incredible and does an incredible job for us because we obviously buy organic. And that is we're one of the few. So we have a hard time sourcing and making sure we get stuff to our facility in the amount we need. Food in general right now in the United States, I think I would chalk it up to that saying is people just kind of trying their best. And that makes me sad sometimes because the best that people are doing is still making them very sick. And we weren't meant to be put on this earth to have to struggle with what to put on our plates when it comes to nutritional density, but yet has become an issue. So obviously there's food inequity, cost of living, all of these things play a factor in it, but you shouldn't have to worry about as much, I would say, apples or oranges and all these things that we have stripped a little bit of the integrity, and we don't really support our farmers anymore. And people really don't look at food as an integral part of their life. We have made it so go to the grocery store. It has every single thing for you there. Yeah. Just grab it. Fast. And food isn't meant to be fast. It takes months to grow stuff. It takes seasons to grow things. It also, takes time to cook. And we've taken something that you literally need to eat to stay alive. What you eat creates, the hair you grow, your skin. It changes the way your body functions. If you eat like shit, you feel like shit. If you eat well, you feel well. And it's incredible that everyone has not everybody, but majority of people have said, they kind of eat to like stay alive. And instead of trying to eat to live a really good life. And we have that option, and we should be living with food integrity. And I get frustrated when people are in food service and they make food because, creativity, it's a beautiful thing, but they cut corners on cost and they don't feed people the adequate nutrition that they deserve. And to me, that's the most disrespectful thing that you can do to somebody, saying, I know that this is a better product and I know that it's, the farmer's getting paid well. I know that it's fresh. The individual getting it is getting, the freshest basil. And instead to do that to save money, they're willing to take down the integrity of it only so that they can make a buck. You shouldn't be getting into food then. If your purpose is to literally feed people, to keep them alive and have a good quality of life, the money factor can't be the first thing on your brain. The human being has to be. And I view food as nurturing, expanding, connecting, loving, and showing affection to one another. And when I don't see that in the other food service world, I feel like it's a disgrace to people's humanity.
You can feel it. You can feel the difference when you are consuming the products that you make. And I'm so curious to go back to where was the connection from realizing that you wanted to help make people feel well through medicine or food, the medical school journey, and then juice. Where did starting a juice business come into the picture?
It's not a straight line.
No, I love it. I've never heard you share this part of your story, so I'm so curious to hear.
So I was in med school and I met Alexandra, who's the founder of the business. And she and I of course was broke, like all people in college.
All students. Yeah.
Just living that dream. And I, passionate about nutrition. I wanted to do medicine. And then I met her, and it was the tiny, First Ave tiny store. And her and I hit it off in an interview. And I think I was working there, the closer we got, and it was tiny. I don't know if you remember First Ave before we blew out the sidewall.
I don't remember I didn't develop my Kaleidoscope obsession yet. That's more recent.
Well, we were very hidden and nobody really, we were there. I remember
Great for
working.
business.
Yeah, would work by myself for hours and just be like listening to music, just bopping around, which I'm sure, it's not great for business, but we were brand new, and her and I ended up getting closer, and I was telling her all the things I was learning in school, and she was very interested, and she always led from a place of just wanting to do the right thing and light and healing and using food as a community-based tool. And we really vibed on that. And eventually I told her, I just said, I believe that what I'm doing is much more served in the nutrition world, especially with Kaleidoscope. So I transferred into my master's. And as I did that, I just had because I sweat equity'd in.
Yeah.
So I was building my equity with her throughout these years and opening locations until we became partners in 2018. And then I ended up obviously buying her out in 2021. But before I made that decision to go into my master's of nutrition, I kind of just asked her if I was able to try some things. And she's so open and so generous. She was just like, do whatever you want. If you feel that this is what you need to do, make it, whatever. So when I started, we had 3 smoothies, 5 juices, and now we have 22 smoothies, 32 juices, and our menu's like very expansive now. But I would see case patients, or I would meet people, and I would hear a story of what they were going through. And I was like, oh, well, have you tried X, Y, and Z? And to help, let's say I'll use a recent one because it's at the forefront of my mind, help with depression, feelings of loss and grief. And I'd ask them about the Melissa herb and dandelion root and all of Schisandra berry. And they were like, no, I don't know what you're talking about. I was like, you should try combining them together. You know what? I'll make a juice. You just let me know how you feel. And so I was able to do almost like in real time testing to give to people product. And then they would tell me, this, they liked it or this worked. And it snowballed from there. And once I realized that I didn't have to go and sit in a doctor's office and just treat cold after headache, after backache, just repetitiveness, that I could have a true connection with people. And not only that, I could take the product and give it to anybody else who might be feeling that way. It was like a light switch for me. And I was like, this is my calling. This is what I should do. And even though to a lot of people it's just juice, it is juice that has saved a lot of people pain, time, energy, things that they felt really lost on, that just, it took me saying, I hear you, I see you. I don't want you to feel like you have to be in this sense of loss, and we can kind of figure it out together. And a lot of that, again, is stemming back to the community base of food. And I really made it a point to make sure that's the center of our equation.
And again, you feel it. So you went from the small store, the first Ave store when it was just a little tiny baby,
500 square feet.
Oh my gosh. To now you're about to build your 7th location. Put it into numbers. How you said 500 customers walk through your doors every single day. Give us, even for someone who maybe can't even conceptualize the growth, because this has been in a few short years. It really has been incredible. And you feel it. You start to see, I see everyone I know posting about Kaleidoscope. I see people I know every single time I'm in there. So where did the business grow from when you joined as a partner to now, even if you can put numbers to it or anything like that?
Well, when I started, we were making no money.
You're a -7.
Yeah, we were, when I started, gosh, I want to say, again, I would be alone, closing at night for hours.
Yeah.
Just nobody had come in. And a lot of it was educational research, and people would walk in and be like, what's spirulina? Which still happens, but they're like, what's spirulina?
Pronounce it totally wrong.
Yeah, what's, acai? What are all these things? And it was half of the battle trying to reach people at what could justify I won't lie and say we're a super inexpensive product. I think we are worth every penny with how much we put into our energy of making all of this product, because we do everything in-house. We own a commissary in Old Town Scottsdale. So we technically have 7 buildings now. It's not open to the public where we do all our baking and our juicing. Yeah. But we would go from nobody coming in, everybody like just kind of being like, they honestly told Alex or the founder Alexandra, that her first ab location was a bad location and nobody would ever find it, and it would never take off. And now that store is our best store. It obviously, it's our oldest store, but we have lines in season out the door for juice and smoothies, which is crazy. And I'm so grateful, but it's funny too, because we have such a great customer base. Like you coming in and seeing people that now when somebody asks, what's spirulina? The customer behind you will be like, oh, but let me tell you.
I asked last week.
Yeah. And a customer will jump in, and we've created this dynamic of our customers advocate for us because they understand what we're making. Mm-hmm. And not only that, they want other people to feel just as good as them. And I love that. When I see customers explaining a juice, or have you ever, if you have a stomach ache, try the Gold, or which is our Gold juice. And I love seeing people come to life in a product because it's genuinely helped them. Mm-hmm. So they want to share it with others.
Mm-hmm. And that's the community element it's the thing that I talk about the most. It's so cool to see it in real life in a business that's so different from the one that I've built, but community is at the heart of everything you've done. So when you joined the business, did you have any business experience, or has this been all like baptism by fire?
I literally have never had another job in my life. So
did you ever take business classes as part of your degree?
No.
Not that they have helped, to be honest, because I did a whole degree and you learn the most by just doing it.
I was just in nutrition dietetics. I never took a business class. I barely passed my math classes. Which is crazy that I was allowed to do payroll for as long as I was.
Like, don't tell her accountant, okay?
Yes. I know. Once I passed that off, everybody took a breath. They were like, oh, thank God.
And I asked that because, so what I love about your story is that, number one, you have a brand that's just built with integrity. The core values of the brand are so evident and uncompromising. And I think so many people who are in our community or who listen to the podcast, can look at the success you've had and maybe imagine that the business part has come easily, or every single piece of this has been easy. And I know that's not the case, especially when you're building something that is so passion filled. There's always pieces that we literally are figuring this out as we go. And I feel like that's most of our DM conversations, is the things that we're figuring out as we go. So what have been some of the biggest challenges as you've stepped into taking this passion that you have and then making it a successful business? Because you have physical locations. That's very expensive. You have 50 plus employees, I would imagine. What are some of the biggest challenges on that side, the actual business owner, operator side of things?
Oh my God, it's never ending.
She's like, give me a cocktail.
Yeah, I know. I was I need a drink. But I would say consistency is tough because we have so many employees and we have so many stores that you want every single product to be exactly the same. But not every strawberry tastes the same. And and not every apple tastes the same. We do our best with what we have, and we try to, keep consistent with every product. But that is something, that keeps me up at night. If I ever get a review or a DM where they're like, I didn't love it, my mint chip tasted off. It's I die a little inside and I'm like, oh my God.
This isn't McDonald's, Sharon.
I know, literally. But we're trying every day. I would say that is the hardest part that I have not mastered. So I really don't have a ton of advice on operations. And I will say the only reason it's been super tough is I get in the biggest way. I
know nothing about getting in my own way. Please go on.
I know that I believe that things should be a certain way. And just because I believe that, it doesn't mean it's the only way. So I am learning to let go of specific tasks and let other people put their flair and their spin on it. Mm-hmm. And that just takes time, because you are going to have people who mess up like I do. I mess up all the time. But learning to have grace when people make mistakes and coaching them through it has been our biggest, movement within the company in order for things to be more seamless, because I physically can't do everything. Nobody can, nor should they. And when I start to try to pile that on, I have half-ass moments. And those half-ass moments ripple effect down to the rest of the team. And that's how you lose retention. That's how you lose quality steps of service.
Yeah.
That's how you lose customers. So I would say having more grace in the training of my management team, and also trying to trust them and make sure that acknowledging that people are taking time, which is the most important part of life, is time. You can't make more time. There are girls that are taking time out of their lives to devote their entire, work ethic to this dream. What an honor. So never really losing sight of that, and just having a sense of like, oh my God, I can't believe these people care. And so I have approached management and operations in a more, I would say honestly, like grateful setting. Like, thank you for being here. Thank you for wanting to work on this dream. I know you can go. These women are very talented. I know you can go and get a huge salary at some big job because you're smart, you're capable, you're awesome, and you're choosing to put your talents here. So just never losing sight of that, being like just happy they're showing up, which I am. But yeah, I still always need, we're always hiring. So if anyone wants to work here,
if you're in Arizona, it really is. And does not matter which location I walk into, there is an undeniable energy. It's as high vibe as the food that you're feeding us, the energy. I was joking with a friend. I went to speak at her event and I had a smoothie. Obviously, I had my Kaleidoscope smoothie in my hand. She's like, oh, I love Kaleidoscope. When I was in there last time, they were telling me like how good my outfit looked. And I was like, wait, they were complimenting me today too. And it's so genuine, but we were joking. I was like, I wonder if that's part of their training manual, because you just walk out with this dopamine boost and then you're getting all these vitamins and minerals as well. But it's the culture, and it does start with you and the people you hire. And that matters. And I love, thank you for letting me ask you that question, because I love hearing from founders who they're like, yeah, that part wasn't the piece that came easy to me. Like, my passion is making the food. But for everyone listening to hear, like, every single one of us, anyone you hear on this podcast, we're figuring it out as we go.
Yes.
And some days better than others.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So I actually want to nerd out a little bit on like specific ingredients you put into things and like the intention that goes into the food that you make. Because if someone's listening and they're like, I live in Wisconsin or Minnesota, I wish I had a Kaleidoscope. It obviously starts with just knowing the effect of the things that you're putting in your body. So number one, they can ship to you, in case you're wondering. But number two, there's a couple of products that I've heard you talk about before that I have a whole new awareness of what food and specific ingredients can really do for our body. So I'm going to ask you about some of my favorites, and then if there's any favorites you want to talk about. Okay, tell me about the pill. So this is a juice you specifically formulated to support us during that time of the month.
Yes.
And I want to hear more about like why you put what you put inside of it, and just so people get a sense of the level of intention that goes into the food that you make.
Thank you. I love the pill too. I made it out of a place of frustration. And when you are in your period and you feel bloated, fatigued, you feel like crap, and everyone says, oh, just take a Myadol or take a Tylenol. And as we know, you're not that, to me, just hearing just take a pill, I always go, there has to be something else. There's a time and a place for stuff, but every single month, that's all you're going to tell me to do. What happens when I like get pregnant and have to give birth? You can't give me a pill then. Like,
yeah, just take a pill.
Just whatever. Yeah. So I wanted to find a way to help the female body through that period of time. And so when you look down to the root of what's going on, it's dehydration. You're having bloating. So you're having upset digestion. Usually people are having issues like going to the bathroom or something like that. You're also having menstrual pain. So I was looking into different herbs and what people are using that had any type of research that backed with menstrual pain. And it turned out dill, in really high amounts, dill performed like an NSAID. So it was providing this cramping relief, but instead of a pill, you're using raw dill. So we started juicing pounds of raw dill and adding it with cucumber, which is cucumber and watermelon are my 2 hydration pulls. So all of our juices, this is a side tangent, but all of our juices are made in a dosing manner. We go through our pull, which our pull is going to be the very watery, dense part of the juice. So that's going to be cucumber, watermelon, apples, pineapples. They pull your most amount of liquid. You're not going to pull a lot from spinach and kale, but you want to get as much as you can from it. So we do our bases separately, and then we pull in our herbs and roots, and we do all of those separately, and then we dose them so that they're strong and potent. Whereas if you have a product, usually in a juice, and you fresh press, and we cold press, so it's a different type of juicing mechanism, you're not going to get the same effect from every piece of ginger, especially in seasonality or like jalapenos. They're spicier during a certain time of year.
True.
So you have to account for that for more or less in order to get the response you want from the product palatability wise.
Yeah.
And if ginger's not as strong a certain time of year, you still need it to be strong because the ginger's in our pill juice. We use it for the digestive portion of it, and for bloating, you need to add more. So we are able to make these bases and then realize, we get our shipments, we get produce shipped to us 2 to 3 times a week. And we go through, is this a strong batch? Is this a small batch? I never want somebody to get a product from us and have it say, that was really weak. I didn't really feel it. I want somebody to take a sip of it and go, whoa, I really felt that. And I want the purchase to explain itself. And so the pill has really strong amount of ginger, a strong amount of dill. I did ginseng because you do feel fatigued normally in your cycle, and you don't want to add in a ton of caffeine because, again, that's dehydrating and it's not helping that, kind of bloating effect. So instead we use ginseng, which is a little more natural form of energy. We also have lemon, and I wanted to keep it a little bit low glycemic. So I did grapefruit as the base, and grapefruit has a ton of potassium in it. And potassium obviously helps with, muscle cramps. So, and I'm sure there's something else in it and I just can't remember, but that's really the base of the components I wanted to pull together so that, and I have girls who, we have somebody out of state actually who buys it monthly for her period.
Every single month?
Yep. She lives in Texas. God bless her.
Brilliant.
Yeah. I'm so glad this works for you.
I just heard you when I was prepping for our conversation. I listened to another interview you did, and that's actually a juice I haven't tried yet. So next month it's on my calendar to get a stock. And I think what it reminded me of is sometimes, going back to your original point about convenience, that we're so programmed for convenience. Even I care a lot about what I put into my body. And because I'm not planning for like having the base of my nutrition be really whole food centered, then I'm more likely to be like, oh, well, I'm dehydrated or I have a headache. Let me just like take a quick Tylenol, instead of prepping for like seasons of, even whether it's during that time of the month or just a time where I have a lot of demands on me and I know I need to be more prepared. So like, what are some of as we kind of start to wrap this up, like for women, because we're talking to mainly a female audience, what are some of like the ingredients that if we just added like these foods, these specific ingredients, we just would be feeling a lot better in general? Like, where are we missing things that are just easy, no pun intended, but like low hanging fruit?
My favorite stuff. So I always tell people an apple is a very easy thing to buy. No prep. You can just have an apple in your bag and start there. You really should be able to be whole fruits and vegetables. Most of them need zero prep work other than washing it off, which should take, a few seconds, few minutes. Carrots, cucumbers. And the problem is it's not sexy. And people want their food, because we live in a world where you take photos of everything and you post. You want your food to be sexy. I personally just want to be sexy. So I want to eat well to look good. So that is how I approach food. But it's the simplicity of food is where it starts. It's just nobody really wants to hear that anymore. They want to be like, and I worry about this because our parents' generation, I saw, and I'm not saying my mom did this, but I feel like it was a huge push on low fat food, calorie counting, packaged meals, Atkins diets. Do you remember just seeing like Atkins or, bars,
like the packaged foods,
and zone diets and all these things that put, like it made food a number, and it took away the community aspect, the joy and everything. And I'm really worried that our generation is going to be the generation that says, what do I eat that's convenient? That's a rip open pack supplement. It's almost like I feel like I'm seeing more people try to find ways to not eat food at all. And which is a dangerous place to be in. Another form, I think, of really unhealthy eating patterns, that they're going, oh, I can take this supplement here, and I can take this pack or pouch, or, we have adult pouches, like little kids eat pouched food. We're now having these pouched foods because people are, quote unquote, so busy they can't feed themselves anymore. And it is another perpetuation of diet culture, that eating as little as possible has now become the new sexy thing, but we're doing it through not even whole foods anymore.
Wow.
And the answer to a healthy, fulfilling life is, I believe, mind, body, spirit. And that's, whole fruits and vegetables, eating things as close to the source as you can personally get it, eating it in a community of people that you love, and knowing that you have a higher power that's watching over you. And it sounds simple, but really it is. Like, life was not meant to be this hard.
Yeah.
And people just want to find a pouch instead of eating an apple.
Yeah. I just, as you were saying about like people wanting food to be sexy, I had this image in my mind of like Roger Rabbit style, just like influencers posing with carrots. We just need to make that a thing.
Yes.
Just make carrots sexy again.
Yeah. Like, it's cool to eat cucumbers. It's cool to eat an apple. Like, I don't know where it became uncool, where everyone's like, how do I biohack this? I'm like, it's an apple. Like, it's already got fibers, vitamins, minerals. Like, it's already doing all the heavy lifting for you.
What more do you want?
Yeah.
I know. Okay, I'm gonna go there, and this is a trigger warning for anyone who loves an oat milk latte. But speaking of things that have become trendy, just tell us a little bit about your feelings on oat milk.
I just find it pointless, and I don't see a huge nutritional density to it. I believe we carry nut milks in house, so we have we house make cashew milk, almond milk, and we house make a coconut milk, and we usually just use the nut of the almond, water, and cinnamon, and that's it. When you get into boxed milks, and particularly oat milk, you're starting to deal with something that is probably as far away from possible as what the benefits of oats do. We use whole oats. They are amazing for fiber. They are awesome. I know a lot of people use them in baking for just really it's fiber. It's a beautiful thing for, digestion and helping good gut bacteria. But when you transfer it into the oat milk, the box companies are adding a bunch of oils and emulsifiers to it to make it unhealthy. And I only say unhealthy because, like, rapeseed oil, and I know everyone's on this like huge oil kick right now, so that's like a whole other thing to get into, but it has taken the healthy part of why oats are this beautiful, amazing property that you should be using in your diet, and you're stripping those portions of it. And it's no longer providing what it had been intended to be used for. So I know people love it, and they, will keep drinking it, and to each their own. And who am I, to always yuck other people's yums. But for me personally, I find it pointless.
Yeah, I know. I feel like these are all these little things that, if you're not careful, it's so easy to get like swept up in what you just see out there, and the not greenwashing, but what's the term for when they try to make it sound healthy? It's just all marketing, right?
Yes.
And at the end of the day, it's because selling one apple, there's not much that's marketable about that. And that is kind of the world that we're living in. So I feel like anytime I get to even just like consume your content online, every time I walk into one of your stores, when I get to sit down with you, it's just this reminder that food ultimately was meant to be nourishing. It's that simple.
It is. It is that simple. Food it's biblical. Fruit, especially, it's been given to us to grow, to pass down to our kids, to share with our parents. It's such a community, beautiful, loving thing. And we've really tainted not only the meaning of meals, but we've also tainted what we as humans deserve, which is quality nutrition.
Yeah. What's your ultimate vision for Kaleidoscope, or just for for the impact that your work in this lifetime is going to have?
I feel like it changes every day. I'm like, what am I going to do today?
Today.
Something just excites me and I'm going to go down that path. I'm trying to be more organized with my thoughts. But I genuinely believe that Kaleidoscope Juice is put on this planet to help and heal others. So I want to take this company as far as I can, not only brick and mortar wise, to make our food accessible to as many people as possible, but to keep and add in and emphasize the educational component of food and nutrition for an easy way for people to grasp, where it's not biohacking, it's leading a healthy and good life because you deserve it. And you shouldn't have to have a PhD in nutrition to know how to take care of yourself. And we shouldn't make all of these choices so hard for people to understand. So creating Kaleidoscope in an educational platform, which is what we kind of are shifting to do at the summit you're speaking at on Saturday.
I can't wait.
Yes, thank you for doing that. We're so excited. But I'm wanting to expand the educational component, have as many different views in the nutrition world and as many different specialists in the nutrition world or in the medical world, so that you can see that it's not a one-size-fits-all approach when it comes to medical nutrition therapy. And how you eat is going to fluctuate at any given time of your life.
Yeah.
How I ate at 3 years old is different than how I eat now. It'll be different when I'm pregnant. It'll be different post-pregnancy. It'll be different when I'm 85. And so this really like hyper focused view that everyone needs to be eating the exact same and everyone needs to be on this certain supplement isn't realistic for the longevity of humanity.
Yeah.
So the educational component of giving access to people to just not hear me on a soapbox, because I don't know everything. I'm the first to tell you, like, I love to learn, but to make Kaleidoscope a place where people can go to and say, I resonate with this, or I know I can go here for this. And not all of it will be for me, and that's okay, but there will be something there that I can take with me to help enhance the longevity of my life in a sustainable fashion.
Well, I am so grateful that it is part of my life. I'm grateful to have just a place where I know like the integrity of what I'm eating, even if that's the one really healthy conscious choice I'm making that day. I do make others. I'm not I don't totally go off the rails, but it does feel good knowing that like on a day like today that I'm filming all day, I want my brain to be firing on all cylinders. Like I can go and fuel myself somewhere that I know I'm going to feel great for how I want to show up during the day. So thank you for the impact you're having on my life, on so many other people. If people want to follow along, whether they want to connect with you or Kaleidoscope, where are some of the best places for them to follow and maybe place an order for that monthly shipment of the pill?
Yes. We are kaleidoscope.love. We also are on Instagram. I think we're on TikTok, but I let a few of the more hip, cool girls run it.
So we're not sure.
Yeah. Lord knows what's on it right now, but we're also, I'm at least 3 stores a day. So you're bound to run into me if you're
or
going.
Me
Yes.
or Lori.
Yes. Which I love.
One of the 3 of us.
Yes. And then I have my personal Instagram. I'm not that exciting. And I really only like mouth off my close friends because I'm like, I really don't want somebody to sue me. So
we'll just keep that what it is. Oh my gosh. Well, I'm just really so grateful, and I can't wait for just the ripple effect of the other, like the wellness summits that you're doing and so much more. But the last question that I have is, it's a fun one to ask women that I really admire and look up to, like you. And it's just an opportunity for you to acknowledge yourself and celebrate something, a win, big or small. We just call it a powerhouse moment. But when I ask, what's a recent powerhouse moment that you want to celebrate, what's the first thing that comes to mind?
Thank you. That's such a nice question. That's really nice. I would say our big win right now is our 7th location, possibly an 8th. People like wanting to work with us, and I can't believe like the demand and the intensity and the love and support that we've had. We for the first time ever in the company sold out of every juice on our shelf Monday ever.
This
week. And we've had New Year, New Me like type of energy before.
Yeah.
This was on crack. I was literally looking around. Every store. People were texting me and being like, is something wrong? I was like, I peeled cucumbers for almost 5 hours on Monday in a panic, which I sat there, I go, this is a good problem to have, Brooke. Like, it's a good problem to have. But we were, so the big win for us is that we're busy and we're growing, and we're having this, I think, major shift in the company of people wanting to make us a part of their daily routine. Whereas before it's, it's convincing, and every day you pray people walk through your doors. And I wake up every morning being like, God, I just hope people come in today. I really hope people still like us. And we're just having this shift now of, we're busy, we have to be ready. And like, I met with my operations team yesterday and I was like, we need more bodies. Like, we need more people in here in ops. And they're like, yes, we're all working 7 days a week. Like, it's crazy. So good problem to have, especially in food. We're so grateful. But our big win is we just have never been this insane before, in a positive way. I'll peel cucumbers every day.
Every day. I'm like, put me in, coach.
Yeah, it's fine.
It's crazy to think what the version of you who is sitting in the first Av store, 500 square feet for a couple hours at a time, waiting for someone to come in. Like, if only she could see all the shelves cleared at 7 stores.
I know. It's going to make me cry. Wild. I've done this for almost 10 years.
Yeah.
My entire 20s. And it's incredible. I just can't believe people believe in us this much. It's an honor to be able to serve people. I'm in food service because I do believe that human beings are meant to serve each other. So I'm just really grateful.
I'm so grateful for your time and for you sharing your heart with us. So thank you.
Thank you.